Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. I thought I'd change things up a little bit today and do something where I'm mounting something that's not already cut. And so I've been going through some various little mineral samples I have, and I picked one out, and I think you'll like it. We're going to make a little ring out of it, and it's actually going to be a nugget turquoise ring. And we'll do some little interesting prongs on it and see how that turns out. It should be fun, and it should be a good experiment. So we'll give it a shot and see how it turns out. Before we do that, I want to thank some people. My patrons on Patreon are my core group of supporters. Not only have they created a great community over there with a lot of artistic people and a lot of really smart people, they have provided me with some financial support as well, which makes this possible for me to continue doing. So thank you for both of those things. You guys are really awesome, and I really appreciate what you do. The other group are my YouTube subscribers, and we just passed 25,600, I believe, is the last number I saw. So that's amazing, and I also appreciate my YouTube subscribers. The nice comments I get from them are truly kind and heartwarming, and I do appreciate that. It always makes it easier when people are letting you know that you're helping them to continue working when you're tired or whatever, so thank you for that. Thank you also for the nice financial contributions like the buying my merch, the buy me a coffees, the super thanks, my ebooks. All of that stuff makes my channel sustainable, and I could not do that without your help, so thank you for that. All right, well, let's make a little turquoise nugget ring. So this is one of my design idea sketchbooks, and this particular one has a gauge to inches to millimeters chart on the back, which I find pretty useful. I am on the last page of this one, so I'm going to have to break out a new one. They all have this dot matrix in the background, which allows me to draw things a little bit better because I'm not terribly good at sketching stuff. And it's a great way to keep track of your projects. Now, different ones have different things on them. This one has a little bit of information about the melting points of silver and copper and sterling. This one has silver solder and flow temperature chart on the back, so you know what temperatures those flow at. This one has ring size formula. I'm trying to calculate how big of a shank you need. And then this one has a saw blade chart, which gives you advice on which saw blade to use based on the thickness of the metal you're cutting. So I have to figure out which one of these I'm going to go with for the next one, since this one's full. But get yourself one or two of those. It's a great way to keep track of your projects. I've gotten a lot out of having a record of what I've done, and I think it makes it much easier to revisit them if you want to try it again or do a different version of something similar. Or do something similar to one of your projects that you've made. So, alright, so here's what we got going. I grabbed a bunch of different minerals. Like, I have a bunch of these. These are little iron garnets that I found somewhere a long time ago. I thought about doing one of those as the mineral. I went to Helena, Montana one time a long time ago and did some sapphire mining at one of the fee sites, and those are little sapphires. They're not very pretty though, honestly. Here's a little garnet that I found up there too. I thought about using that. None of those are really super attractive. I have some local doubly terminated quartz crystals. I could do one of those, I thought. And maybe I will at some point, but here's another double termination one. This one's a little bit bigger. But again, none of these are super flashy, and I know people like color. So I'm going to use a piece of turquoise. It's a little nugget that I found in my rock collection somewhere. And it's very pretty. I don't know where this particular piece is from, but it seems pretty solid and will hold together well. And here's my plan. So I'm going to make sort of like I make a sandwich bale, where it's got two layers of sheet with some spacers between it. And I want to run some little pieces of 16 gauge square wire through those little holes, solder them to the top while it's upside down, so that creates prongs coming up from around this little kind of sandwich thing. And then we'll just put a band on it, and we'll file those prongs to points, and then we'll mount it like that. So we'll see how that turns out. I think it should work okay, and I don't think it's going to be terribly complicated to do. So knock on wood about that, but the materials we'll need: 16 gauge square wire, which is 1.3 millimeters. The sheet I'm going to use is 2 pieces of, I already cut these out just to save time. I think that's it, like that. And that's 22 gauge, which is 0.66 millimeters. The spacers, I'm going to use 14 gauge square wire, which is 1.6 millimeters, and the band is 12 gauge square wire that I've flattened out a little bit. It's definitely wider in this dimension than this dimension, so I'll solder 2 pieces of that together to make a split band like that. So I think first let's make our little platformy thing here and make sure we can figure out where we want those spacers to go. I might scribe some lines. Let's see, we had it kind of like this, right? So I think basically we're going to need to have a piece right on the edge like this that's 14 gauge. Well, I'm just going to scribe a line like that. And that looks about wide enough to put a piece of 14 gauge. So, and I want this line to be parallel to that one and about that far in too. So let's see if we can get that pretty parallel. That's not bad. And we're going to need one about right about there. About there. So let's see if we can do parallel lines to that one too. This is where we see whether we had it pretty close or not. I think we may have to scribe the one on the other side just a little bit differently. Alright, so let me find some 14 gauge square. If you're interested in how the types of flux and solder and things that I use in my torch, there's some information about that. For this I'm going to cut 4 little pieces of square wire. Okay, now I'm going to spend a couple of minutes getting these nice and straight. Alright, so let's put this over on my soldering pad. Let's see if we can solder those down. It seems to me that it would be easiest if we sweated a little bit of solder onto each of these wires in order to pre-apply some solder where it needs to go. I do a lot of pick soldering, where I pick up a little bit of solder on the end of my soldering pick and heat the piece up to the correct temperature and then touch it to it. I have found that that is one of the key skills to making things a lot easier for me, so if you're interested, there's a link to a pick soldering video there if you want to find out more about that. We're just going to pre-melt a little of the solder onto these 14 gauge square wires here. I'm going to place these and then flux it, I think, or at least a couple of them, because I think it'll be hard to see the lines if I don't do that. Let's see if we can't get those ones on there pretty good. One thing is when you heat your flux, it boils, and sometimes it moves things out of position, so we're going to try and kind of gently dry this so it doesn't move too far. See how it moved a little bit there? Whoopsie! Alright, I think we got those two on. Let's see if we can get these other ones positioned. Now this piece, I have to position it like this right on top of that. So I think in order to do that effectively, we can do a couple of things. We can either sweat some on top of these wires, or we can sweat some on the back here. It'll be neater if we do it on the top of the wires probably, so I think let's go that route. Okay, so let's pick a little bit more solder on these things. I think I want this stick. I'm probably going to cut that part out so if you would see, I was trying to do it without adding any solder for some reason. Let's see how that fared that time. Okay, I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to clean this up by snipping these and filing them off. The little projecting pieces. That should work, I think. I'm going to clean this up a little bit better with the Dremel, and then I'm going to pickle it for a while to get rid of some of the excess flux in there. Alright, I got that cleaned up a little bit. I marked a B for the bottom so I wouldn't mistake which side I wanted to be up, since it's not symmetrical in both dimensions. And I measured for like a 7.5, but I'm going to fudge a little bit to make sure it's big enough, and then I can trim it down a bit. Okay, and I'm going to arbitrarily decide how far down the split's going to happen. So I'm going to go by right there, which ends up being I don't know, 15, 16 millimeters. And that's where I'm going to bend these outwards just slightly. That's not too shabby. So let's solder those together next. I have some solder there, it looks like, so let's just get these lined up nice. And we'll flux it, and then we'll solder them again. This all cleaned up. Okay, let's round that out on a manual. So this is going to be going like that. Just filing the top flat here. Okay, I'm going to make a mark where the center little bar is here, so I know kind of where to set this up. That looks pretty good. I'm going to cut a little bit of fresh solder. These three are going to be our things that we feed through there. This is 16 gauge square. And let's get these attached first. So I think I'm going to use some, let's use a little bit of easy paste solder just to put these in. That's medium. Alright, so let's heat this thing up to the flow point and see what happens. Theoretically, those should have soldered because I got it hard enough to reflow the hard solder I'm using. I think I'm going to comes up like this. Just going to get that stuck to that edge as well. I don't think those are going anywhere, probably. So, after this is all cleaned up and polished, we can pop this in here and see how it's going to fit. Do something like this. And we'll cut these off and file them to a point. That should look pretty cool, actually, I think. Pretty fun piece. So let's let that pickle for a while. I might go fix my wife some dinner so she doesn't get cranky. Don't want to have a cranky wife. And then we'll come finish that up. Okay, I got things kind of polished up, and I want to pop this in here, and then we can cut these to be about the right length we want them to be. So I'm going to use my nylon jawed pliers here to kind of squeeze these two inwards a little bit. I'm trying to get it where it's not going to move very much, and that's pretty good. And then I think I need to figure out where I want to cut these prongs off. Not all of them need to be the same length, probably. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this back out of here. Bend these back up a little bit. Try not to break my fingernail. And then I'm going to cut those off, and then I'm going to taper these down to kind of like more of a pointy end, and also thin it out just a little bit this way using an abrasive silicone white wheel. So I'll be right back after doing that, and then I'll show you how to get it in there and get it as tight as we can. Okay, got a kind of pointy looking thing here. Get that back in there. Try not to stab yourself while you're doing this. I'm going to use this to kind of push things down. Okay, so that's kind of what it's going to look like. Pretty much what I was trying to do. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use a blue abrasive Silicote polishing wheel, more on the very fine side. Let me know in the comments what you think. This one's kind of experimental, but I like the little things coming out the sides here like that. That's kind of fun. So, but I think you could probably mount just about any little mineral specimen like that this way. So I'm going to make sure these are all laid down nice and smoothed out, and then I'll get some better pictures. Okay, well that was mounting a raw mineral specimen. This case we used Turquoise Nugget. If you enjoyed that, and if you maybe learned something from it or got something useful out of it, make sure to hit the like button before you go. That really helps to get my channel promoted, and I appreciate it. I would also love it if you'd go to the main channel page on YouTube that I have and check out some of my other videos. I have 600 and I don't remember now, 660 some, if I remember right. I've been doing 3 per week for about almost 4 years now, so there's a lot of content over there. Check out a few of those videos. There's stuff for all levels and lots of projects, and I think you're almost certainly going to find something useful over there. So if you do find something useful over there, consider subscribing to my channel. I'd love to have you, and it doesn't cost anything. So thanks in advance if you choose to do that. Also, check out the video description down below. There's some important links there in addition to information about this project. There's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks, which I find so useful. There's plenty of other merch there too, mugs and shirts and things like that, so check those out. Get yourself a nice present this holiday season. There's a link to my ebooks if you want to find out more about those. We have 2 so far, one for 2023 and one for 2024. The link that you have there takes you to the 2024 ebook. We're currently working on 2025's, which is a catalog of all of the videos that I did during 2025, including extra information about them, including a picture of the sketch I drew, a final product picture, a list of materials, a difficulty rating, and additional information about the video that I thought about afterwards, like would I change the way I did it? Did I learn something new? Did I think it was a success or a failure? Those kinds of things. So it's a nice way to have a whole bunch of projects right at your fingertips, and a super nice way to support my channel. So get yourself 2023s and 2024s, and right after the first of the year we should have 2025s ready to go. So finally, there's a link to my Patreon if you want to find out more about that nice community. There's a bunch of cool people over there, and I really enjoy interacting with them. So maybe you'd like to be part of that community too. So there's different tiers of membership, the lowest being where you just get rid of the YouTube ads, which is valuable in itself. But the other ones have some additional perks like Patreon exclusive videos. We're doing a live stream tomorrow. It's a nice place with a lot of cool people, and I really enjoy their company. So check it out. Thanks for watching today. Take care. Happy silversmithing.